Hey, what is up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here. In today's video, I'm kicking off 2017 with 5 bold predictions for Yu-Gi-Oh! This year. We're gonna see what I think will change. I did something like this last year and it was a lot of fun, so let's hop right in. Number 1, I think that we are not going to get a new summoning mechanic, but I do think we're going to get a new game mechanic. So as you guys know, the 6th generation of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime was recently announced. We don't have like a whole lot of details about it. We've just seen the main character and we know that it's about, you know, card games on, what is it, like hoverboard? Sonic Riders X Yu-Gi-Oh! But I actually don't think that we're going to get a new summoning mechanic. And the reason why is because A, it feels like this game is honestly pretty oversaturated with summoning mechanics. I have really kind of racked my brain. I just can't think of too many different types of summoning mechanics that Konami can really do. I mean, Pendulums was about as far stretched as I think that they would go with this game, and like adding a new zone. But I think that maybe a new game mechanic might be in order instead. So when I think of like card games on hoverboards, it kind of reminds me of the whole like 5Ds concept of like card games on motorcycles or whatever, where like they had things like turbo duels and speed duels. I could see something like that maybe happening, where it's just an alternative way to play with some slightly different rules. Like I kind of remember that there was this speed duels thing that got introduced in the OCG a while back. It never came over here, but I always thought that could be a fun like side event. I actually made a video about it, but check that video out by the way. But yeah, I don't think that we'll actually see a new summoning mechanic. I feel like 5Ds has actually, or not 5Ds, but Arc 5 has actually done a really good job of consolidating the summoning mechanics and making them feel equally represented. We got powerful rituals like Necroz, and then more recently, you know, Cyber Angels, and we've gotten good Synchro decks, good Xyz decks, good Pendulum decks, and they all sort of coexist. So I think that making a new mechanic actually isn't probably going to happen. I just suspect we'll get a new like game type, a new way to play. Prediction number 2 is that we're going to get a huge influx of people from the new movie. So as you guys know, Dark Side of Dimensions comes out in just a couple of weeks, and I'm super excited about it. I'm going to, of course, you know, be going to see it like opening night, gonna make a review video, probably with the twins. But more importantly, I think that that movie is going to pull in a lot of mainstream people who remember watching Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid, or maybe playing it as a kid. And so we're gonna get a huge influx of players into the game, and I think that for that reason, Konami is going to have to go through some phase of rebranding, and this actually lines up perfectly because I was reading on like YuGiOh organization that with the set after Maximum Crisis, I think it's called Code of the Duelist, Konami is supposed to be trying to sort of rebrand the game back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters instead of, you know, constantly changing it to like Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 and Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, Zexal and all that stuff. They're just going to try to go back to the Duel Monsters lingo, which is what a lot of people recognize. And I think that really ties in with the fact that the movies are going to be coming out and it features Yugi and Kaiba and these other legacy characters that, you know, old school people will recognize, and they know that there's going to be this huge flood of players who, you know, are looking to get back into the game, and so it'll be difficult to tell them what like a Zexal, you know, all that stuff is. So yeah, I think that when the movie comes out, we can expect a lot of people to start playing again, because, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that cool, nerdy thing, and like in this day and age, nerdy is cool. Anyway, yeah, like that's gonna be interesting though, because it means that there will be a lot of, you know, scrubby casuals who don't know a whole lot about what a Pendulum or a Xyz or a Synchro monster is, or really just mechanics in general, like chains and spell speeds. So it's going to be weird, but I think that's going to help, because that means Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be much more popular. Events can probably get bigger. There might be more good things to come of that. Like, I think this is a good thing, but that's my second big prediction. Prediction number 3 is that we're going to get a Genesis ban list. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that I think we're going to get a ban list that slashes and burns the current game to the ground. Why? Because, as you guys know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of works in eras. Every couple of years we get these green duelist packs that have the word duelist in them. So like, you know, Duelist Alliance, there was the Duelist Alliance era, which was basically Shaddolls, Burning Abyss, Satellar Knights, Necroz, Cleforts, all that stuff. Yeah, and then notice that that kind of ended, and then the next wave of stuff came in. So that's kind of what I predict will be happening soon. We're going to be getting Code of the Duelist, like I said, and I think that when we do, we're going to see things like the Brilliant Fusion Engine go, Speedroids go, you know, Insta-Fusion Norden, all of the staples of today's game. I wouldn't even be surprised to see like, you know, Solemn Strike and Twin Twisters be part of this in some capacity. A lot of the whole just Perform Age Trick Clown, like stuff like that. All of these like current little sub-engines that are getting thrown into so many decks, I think will all go. Not necessarily deservedly so, but I think that it'll be because, you know, we will be starting kind of a new era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that means that when that happens, typically all the old stuff either gets crept out or it just, you know, gets banned, and not all banned, but like limited, semi-limited, stuff like that. Engines get weakened. And I think that these things have been hanging around for so long now that a lot of people are, like, don't get me wrong, these are good engines, but a lot of people are probably sick of them. A little anecdotal bit about that. I was actually like playing windups the other day on YuGiOh Pro, I was bored. And the thing is, you know, I played it, but then I realized that the Speedroids and Instant Fusion and like Brilliant Fusion were doing all the work. Like, it wasn't the windups anymore, it was just these engines that are getting kind of teched into everything. So I think that that's gonna happen. I don't think that'll necessarily be like on the next ban list, like in January or February, but I think it will definitely happen before like the end of summer, probably right around Nationals, like right after that sweet spot. Prediction 4, we are going to get an interesting new Yu-Gi-Oh video game this year. And I say interesting because it could be one of two things. Obviously, they're gonna release, you know, something on like 3DS probably, you know, that goes without saying. And I know a lot of people were disappointed when we just got Legacy of the Duelist re-released on Steam, even though we'd heard rumors that we would get something more, you know, dynamic, more of a like possibly subscription type of game, a better simulator similar to YuGiOh Pro. I think that we'll either get that finally, you know, a service that's similar to Pokemon Online or like MTG or Hearthstone, where, you know, it's actually just access to all the cards and you just maybe pay. People have talked about that in videos. That may happen. Or I think that the number 2 thing is Konami is going to try to piggyback off the success of something like Pokemon Go and make some Yu-Gi-Oh AR, as in augmented reality style game, or maybe a VR style game. We've actually seen hints and like people sort of suggesting that Yu-Gi-Oh could work really well with something like Oculus Rift or things like that. And, you know, I'm not entirely sure that it could work well, but I think that people will try. So I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually see a Yu-Gi-Oh VR or AR game. Yeah, so I'm not sure, like I said, when that would happen, but I think that it will come sometime this year. It seems like a good experimental time frame to do it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll even tie in with the new anime. And number 5, I think we're gonna get a lot of reprints and a lot more erratas. So reprints kind of go without saying. There are a couple of cards that have honestly been expensive for far too long. Things that come to mind are like Psyframe Lord Omega, that's really way too expensive, and also stuff like Phantom Knights of Breaksword, those sort of things. So I think that those will all get reprinted. The strange thing though is that I don't think are getting a gold series this year. I think we're getting that one new like Duelist Generation pack. I forget exactly what it's called, but it has like anime related cards. And then we're getting like a gold version of the movie pack, but I don't think we're getting a gold series because they usually have announced it by now. So I'm not sure how they'll do reprints, if they'll just do it in the Mega 10 again, but I think that we're definitely overdue for some. And I think that my bold prediction of that is that we're going to get a Minerva reprint. It only makes sense, you know, like Lightsworn's getting that new trap card or whatever that searches Judgment Dragon means that people will be interested in Lightsworn. So it'll suck to lock them out of, you know, one of the best cards being the Xyz version of Minerva. So I think that we will get a Minerva reprint probably in the first 6 months of this year, since they wouldn't really have a good reason to put it in a Mega 10. But yeah, I think that's going to happen, and I think that along with it, we're going to get a lot more erratas. As you guys know, in the OCG, they errated, you know, Brain Control and Rescue Cat and Future Fusion and all that stuff. I think that obviously those will come to the TCG at some point, probably this year, probably in the first 6 months, but if not, it'll be like after that big Genesis ban list I was talking about. But, you know, more importantly, I think that more erratas are on the way. I think Konami is going to really try to trim down this ban list. All these cards that have been banned for years, I think are going to get a lot more erratas, especially the monsters, but some of the spells and traps too. I actually think Konami did a really good job with this most recent wave of erratas. Not so much the Crush card and like Ring of Destruction ones, but some of the newer ones I think did a pretty good job. So I think we've got a lot more of those on the way. And those are my 5 bold predictions for Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2017. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think is going to change in this game? How is Konami gonna change things? What's gonna happen? Some other predictions that almost made it on the list where I think that Konami will probably try to bring back maybe something like team dueling or sealed in events. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, just stuff like that. Leave it in the comments, we can talk about it. And remember to follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter. I have a new Discord chat server. It's all down in the description, so check it out. Also sponsor stuff, buy things from TCG Player. It's cool. And that's gonna be it. So I will see you guys in the next video. Later.